Intonation. Intonation is one of the suprasegmental features in language, and it's really important to define intonation and then to just describe what are the forms of intonation and then what are the functions of intonation, because the functions of intonations are really important, right? So intonation is one of the important suprasegmental features, and intonation in very simplest possible way, it's the variation of pitch at sentence level, right? So that's basically the very simple definition of intonation. If you can just think about the difference between speaking and singing, right? And if you analyze those two types of language, like when somebody is speaking and you are listening to that person, and then on the other hand, when somebody is singing, and you just analyze the pitch variation, then you would come to know that basically in the language, in the spoken language, basically the speaking, what happens is that the pitch is in continuous variation. Okay, so it may be going up and then down for the sake of the rhythm of the language, right? But in the case of singing, what is done is basically the singer is holding a particular note for a noticeable time period, and then he would jump to the next note, and these notes are just in very simple language, these are the surs, right? So one sur is held by the listener, the singer, and that's the main difference, that the pitch in very much in variation in speaking, and then a particular note is held by the singer for a particular time period, right? So when a particular pattern is maintained within an utterance, that is supposed to be intonational phrase, right? An utterance is, let me define utterance. An utterance is basically the stretch of speech which is spoken by one single speaker, and the boundary of an utterance is silences on both sides, from the beginning and then also at the end, right? So that's an utterance. Within an utterance, there might be one or more than one intonational phrases, and an intonational phrase is a particular pattern of pitch, right? This is a sentence, if you can listen to it. We know the new mayor, right? If you just speak this sentence in a very, simple manner, right? So you would speak like, we know the new mayor. So what is there? If you just analyze the pitch variation, there is stress on the second word, no, and then there is a final stress on the mayor, right? So that's an important sentence for describing the aspects of intonation. And this varying pitch, which is perceptible, basically. Intonation is when you can perceive what is happening to your voice, right? Like in this sentence, that we know the new mayor. So if we just carefully analyze this sentence, then we can say that the no and mayor are two prominent parts of the sentence, right? So this perceptible difference or this perceptible contrast between the high and the low pitch, that's an important point. And this is the study of intonation. Okay, let me just speak out this monotonic intonational phrase, yes or no, right? Because there is only one tone, so monotone, right? So monotonic, this intonational phrase. And since it's a complete sentence also, at times when some question is asked, then the person who is to reply may say yes or no. But these monotonic sentences are really important for telling you about the difference between various forms of intonation, right? So let me just use them. When a word, monotonic word or a monotonic intonational phrase like yes, when it is used in a constant form, that's the level tone, okay? That's the level tone. And when the pitch is in variation, then that's basically the moving tone, okay? Because we are moving it up and down, right? So the difference is that if it's if the person wants to reply in a very definite manner, right? Very decisive, definite manner, then the pitch would be falling. The intonation pattern would be falling, right? Like yes, okay. So if the same question, when the same monotonic intonational phrase is spoken in a way like there is a question, okay, then there would be a rising pitch. Like a time when you say something to a person and the person is unable to perceive that, then the person would reply to you, yes. So this is basically the questioning mode, and the questioning mode is that the intonation would be rising, okay? So that's an important point. And let me just now give examples. If this yes, no, you can see that there is the sign of the mark of a falling intonation above yes and no. So if it is like in falling, then that's the neutral intonation, like yes, no, right? So what is meant by such an intonation? The point is that the person does not like to continue. So that's the point for finality, that okay, my conversation is final or my reply is final, right? Then if the same is spoken with rising intonation, okay, like rises there, like yes, no. So the person who is speaking in such a manner, he wants to have some more knowledge. He wants to continue, basically. So there is a message within the tone of the person that, okay, there is something to follow, all right? And then there is another possibility that if there is some fall first and then the tone is rising, okay? So this fall-rise format, like yes, right? Or no. So that's basically the complex tone used in these words. That's the reservation or hesitation message given by the speaker. And then when first it is rising and then it is falling, right? So it is first rising and then it's falling, the tone. Then that's the message of strong approval or disapproval. The person may be strongly approving or maybe strongly disapproving. Like when you are telling someone and there is some interjection, okay, an emotional sort of thing, then the person who is listening to your talk, to your sentence, he would reply like, yes, okay? So that's the strong feeling which is conveyed through this tone, okay? And if it's level, it's, a static, constant, right? Then what happens is that's the very, very boring or like very routine or uninteresting sort of talk. And the message is that the person is no more interested in talking. So highly reserved, okay? So these are the forms of intonation, and just briefly telling you about the functions of intonation. Because if there is no intonation, then the speech would be highly mechanical. There won't be any attitudinal, any behavioral touch, right? So that's like when there is a person who is indifferent and he doesn't want to continue, then there would be little intonation and little involvement of the pitch. Intonations, they convey emotions, right? Because these are very important for emotions, and they also just convey your mental attitude, okay? And then also the effect of prominence, that what information is important, what information within sentence is prominent, right? So that's conveyed through your intonation. And intonation is also important because grammatical features, like when is the clause ending, when is the phrase ending, and these gaps are basically those intervals. Those are very, very important in order to convey within a sentence. And last but not the least, that intonation also let us know that what new information is added, right? Because the new information, which is not already known to the listener, then that would be made prominent on the basis of intonation. These were some of the functions of intonation.